Let's steel man the other side, then. Let's put ourselves in the sheriff's shoes and those LEO's shoes. What do you think was going through their mind? How did the detainment begin? Tell the listeners and the viewers exactly what went down, perhaps from their perspective. What did they think that they were dealing with?
I do what I do when I go to any such event. Before I park my car, as I'm entering the parking lot, if I see an officer, I let them know that I have firearms in the truck. For example, worst case scenario, somebody breaks into the truck, they know that there's a shotgun and a Glock in there. And by giving notice, a lot of the Nevada police I've talked with are actually flattered I even have that kind of respect to them. This is something that I learned in 2022 when I was knocking on doors. Many police officers were very happy to see me knock on. They asked me, questions about what my policies were, and I started forming relations with them. So I like treating them well. Unfortunately, I forgot I'm in California, and I did the exact same thing. As I'm driving up to where the entrance of the parking lot would be, I saw a police officer on my left side. I told him exactly this, and that's where this nightmare ordeal began. Because I could
So
see.
they thwarted the assassination attempt by you telling them that you had firearms.
Yeah, I was the one that told him I had firearms, man. This is like common practice for me, just in transparency, because I don't want, like, the last thing I want is something from my car stolen, and then there's a guy running around with my gun and with its serial numbers, lawfully registered serial numbers, and I've given no notice. But also know that 50% of the car's trunks in there most likely have firearms. So, like, with that
Well, that's
logic.
important food too for people that know that aren't necessarily familiar with Nevada, really. But it is not uncommon to be driving around with a firearm. It's
Yeah, so
not an
it's a
uncommon thing. It'd
it's a
almost be
culture
in
thing.
some parts of Nevada, it would be more uncommon to not have a firearm.
Exactly, exactly. All my friends that I know carry firearms. The women that I know carry firearms in their purses. I mean, it's a whole different culture. But yeah, I mean, that's literally all it was. I told him, and then, by the way, when I told him, I could see on the look on this guy's face, kind of a dumb look on his face, like he was. I was like, listen, bro, like, if you're concerned or whatever, I'm like, I could give you the firearms. There's like 10 police cars over there. Put it in the trunk. I'll pick it up later, right? Or I could just do a U-turn and leave. But instead, they started this whole insane ordeal. We had a deputy sheriff that was clearly prejudiced against me, and he was the fulcrum between the FBI and the Secret Service and myself. And it's very clear that, like, he had an agenda, because he was trying to convince them of something, and they were just kind of like, "Nah, dude, there's a nothing burger." Because you know what those guys did? I'm sure the minute they found out these accusations, they ran a check on me. On a peripheral check, you could actually see my social media, which does not resemble somebody that's a leftist killer of Trump. If you do a deeper dive check on me, you find that everything that they thought, was clues to, like, potential assassin, was actually logical, documented, and it was a nothing burger. So that's why they didn't even interview me, and frankly, they stayed out of it. And the lawsuit is against the county and the state and the department, as opposed to them having done something that they'd be liable for. I mean, I just think they wanted to wash their hands of it. That's why.
Did you have any of the other hallmarks of domestic terrorism, like a noose or bleach? Were you yelling, "This is MAGA country"? Did you have a bicycle or a step ladder, perhaps, or any of the other things that our crack team of assassins have been able to defeat the Secret Service with in the previous months?
No, nothing. No, I mean, they did a forensic search of my car. So what they lied to me. This arresting deputy sheriff told me that, hey, like, first he told me, hey, the only thing we're concerned about is that those are lawfully registered firearms. So I said, yeah, they are, and you're welcome to check in my car. I told him the location. The shotgun was lodged between the trunk and the seat, so you can't even move it unless you move the seats up. The Glock was basically in the back, and I told him, you're totally welcome to go in there, retrieve the
So you
serials. I
were
have
fully
nothing tied.
compliant the whole time.
Yeah, I told him, get the cereals
Even
if that's
offered to
what you
share
should.
your edibles the whole night.
What's up?
Even offered to share your edibles the whole night.
I wish I had edibles, man. I would have been. That would have been a much more pleasant experience going through what I went through. But essentially, they were telling me they just want to check the cereals, but rather than doing that, they ransacked the crap out of my car. Bomb sniffing dogs, swab tests, 15 officers or 10 to 15 officers roaming around my car, looking at everything, opening my luggage, going through my computers, going through my hard drives, going through my cameras, like, you name it. They did
Wow.
it. They turned my car upside down, and they found absolutely nothing.
When did you realize that this was turning left, that this was going south? Did you get your attorneys involved? What did you do to protect yourself as you realized, man, this is not a typical, search event I'm going through right now?
So on a dozen occasions, I asked for my phone call to my lawyer, or that one phone call that they're supposed to give you by law. They refused it. I never got my one phone call. So that evening, there was, even though I realized that this was bad, this was wrong, it's what happened was basically, I wasn't, able to talk to my attorney, but then the next day, basically a lawsuit was filed yesterday. The lawsuit was filed yesterday, end of day, by a very prominent attorney. That's already in action now. That's going to be served, and that's also available online for anybody that has Pacer. They could actually go search the Nevada District Court, Federal District Court, and see that this lawsuit was actually filed. Read the lawsuit, see all the criminal behavior and all the insanity that these individuals did, this department did.
How has this affected you, Ben? How has this affected you since that day?
My life has completely changed. It's completely changed. There was a girl I was dating. She broke up with me via text, and
Really?
then yeah. Then I'm walking around trying to get some clothes because my clothes are impounded, and it's like, I don't know if you've seen that Fugitive movie with Dr. Richard Kimball. Like, see people staring down. Back then it was newspapers. Now it's cell phones. They look at it. They look up. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. The police department in Nevada calls me saying they're concerned for my welfare, because a lot of these headline readers might still think that I'm a potential Trump assassin and thus try to kill me, Jack Ruby style, to seek retribution for my evil deeds. I mean, everything's changed. Everything's changed. And, it's this, I don't know if there's any ultimate restitution for this, because even in a court case and stuff, like, how do you erase the internet? How do you erase the damage done? Like, do I have to now go live off somewhere else? Do I have to go live in some, secured location for the rest of my life, or at least for a given period of time? These are all things that were never in my mind, never something I had to contend with, that I'm contending with now because of this criminal behavior. This was criminal behavior by these people, and that's what I'm having to contend with right now.
And so for like you said, so for the future, the foreseeable future, when people Google or search or DuckDuckGo Vem Miller, blood money's not going to come up. Your shows are not going to come up. Your past work is not going to come up. What's going to come up is attempted presidential assassination.